Do me a favor, give it up for Gina Tabrizy.
Hey, nice to see you all. Love you back, love you front, love you back, whatever. Somebody said that to me once. It was one of my staff members. She's here, and I went, Michelle, that's really inappropriate. Probably shouldn't be saying that to our staff when they're coming in. And now I said it. I stole your line. How y'all doing? I think I was, you know how you pray sometimes or you meditate, especially when you're lost, especially when you don't know what you're going to do or how you're going to do it. But it's funny because I found my prayer going, Dear God, don't let me curse while I'm at Randy's LifeLines tonight, because sometimes I express myself like that, you know. I grew up with very expressive parents, Ricky and Lucy. They're Cuban, Cuban-born. Mom and Dad were just like Ricky and Lucy. They were constantly in dialogue, and everything was very big and expressive. So I never knew if someone was really ticked off at me or not, because the volume was always up here, so it was always kind of like, you know, I'm gonna get smacked. I don't know what I did, I don't know why, but I know I got a duck, right? So my father in particular liked to express himself with his hands, and you know, he had an accent, so he used to talk like this to me all the time. And growing up, I'm like, I don't know what is this guy saying, but I'm gonna listen because he's loud and his hands going everywhere like this, and I better listen to this guy. He's a little bit scary, right? So I'm just loosening you up a little bit. I don't know what I'm talking about and where I'm going, but I'll get there. So, you know, just make sure you're having a good time. My father was very much that person that wanted everybody to have a good time. He was very generous with his heart, and he gave a lot away. And one of the things that I found in this recovery, in this world of recovery for a long, long time, is how selfishness is such a trap. You know, it frightens me sometimes how unwilling we are. How unwilling we are to stand next to a person next to us in line and just go, hey man, you've got 25 things and I've got one thing, why don't you go ahead? Because don't you know, I'm entitled to go first, and I've been standing here longer than you, and my arms are tired from holding on to these 25 things. This seems like a silly example, but we do this every day to each other. And it starts in our families. We start in our families with, how am I going to get mine? What kid am I? Am I the first kid, the second kid, or the third kid? When the first kid comes out, everybody puts all expectations on that first kid. My brother's the first kid. My brother's a recovering alcoholic of 30 years. Go, Paul. He's flying home from Orlando, I hope, right now. Yeah, my brother tripped into recovery. He wasn't looking for recovery. He didn't know what is recovery or why is recovery. He tripped into it. Literally, got on his knees one day, driving home, had his babies in the car. He was nodding off, something he'd done 100 times. Well, this time, he woke up. This time, he got out of his car and thought, I need to do something different. I don't know what it is, because I don't have a spiritual bone in my body. I haven't prayed in years. We used to go to church when we were little kids. You know, when you pray, it's like because somebody, you know, one of those nuns is smacking you in the back of the head, and you got to pay attention. Catholic upbringing, you got to pay attention. So he got, right? Let's talk about trauma. You grew up in a Catholic house, in a Catholic, ooh, Lord, you know trauma, you know? I knew how to sit up straight. Randy's like, sit up straight. I'm like, oh my God. And then put your hands out. I'm like, somebody's gonna smack him, right? The little ruler thing, right? Oh, Lord. So my brother got a wake-up call, and he went outside. He got out of his van, and he got on his knees. To this day, doesn't know why he did that. got on his knees. He told me this story years later, and I was studying to be a therapist, and I went, my brother did the first step and didn't even know that he did it. That's really cool. But he did. He got on his knees and he prayed and said, God, if you will get me home safely, I will never pick up a drink again. Do you know that boy has not picked up a drink in 30 years? Isn't that amazing? How did he do that? Geez, how did he do that? Right? Something greater than myself. Surrender. Hardest thing in the world for an addict to do is to surrender. That disease has you by the throat. It drags you around. It tells you who you are and what you're going to be and how you're going to do it. To surrender? No, I'm in charge. I got this. I can do this, right? He had to surrender. There's a lot of humility in that. There's a lot of humility in just getting on your knees. Not for other purposes, as some of you people back there might be thinking about, because those purposes, not what I'm talking about. That might come a little easier to you. I don't know. But surrendering, right? Surrendering for the purpose of I'm done. I can't do this anymore. This is breaking me. That is so difficult, but it's because in some ways you want to prove that you're right. You want to prove that you own that addiction, and what everybody else is telling you that you can't do, you can do. And you're going to prove it by sticking another needle in your arm. You're going to prove it by taking another drink. And then Randy and I are going to be taking the stats again. What number is that today? How many people have I buried in my 31-year career? How many people have I seen this disease slaughter? I cannot count anymore. But I can tell you that I know surrender. Every one of us has a burden that we carry. And sometimes that burden comes from what other people told you that you were going to be. How you were going to be, how you were supposed to think, how you were supposed to dress, where you were supposed to go, what kind of job you were supposed to do. We have been conditioned from a very, very long time, from the time that we were born, that who we are belongs to somebody else. And that's not about God. Because God is about love, unconditional, spiritual, divine. The day you were born and you took your first breath, God intervened on your life and said, you deserve breath and you deserve life. Every human who came in contact with you after that and questioned whether you earned or deserved the right to breathe or to live was a liar and a cheat and a thief. Now, you may not like hearing that. Some of you grew up in the perfect childhood. I didn't like it when my therapist blew my bubble about I didn't grow up in the perfect childhood. I'm like, get out. What you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. Of course I did. Nobody beat me. There wasn't an active alcoholic in my home or an addict. I wasn't molested. I had the perfect childhood. How did I get so screwed up? I went into relationships where I would be controlled and belittled and stepped on verbally, pushed down. One time, I walked out of my this is the last marriage. The first marriage, this is the last one. I ain't doing this again. You know, it's like throwing the odds in Vegas. I'm going to lose, you know. I'm taking my chance. My husband's here of going 25 years. Putting up with all this. Whew! He's very patient. He's had to visit a psychiatrist a couple of times, but he's all right now. I really messed with his head. Can you imagine all this and then, no, what I really think is going on here, Fareed, is that you aren't looking deeper into yourself. You know, like I'm never wrong, right? We were talking about surrender and not being wrong. About the people in your life that tell you who you're going to be. For me, That perfect childhood came with a lot of expectation. Expectation is the fuel that fuels the disease of addiction. Listen to it again and take it in. Expectation is the tool that feeds the disease of addiction. Our expectations of not enough. We all suffer the disease of not enough. I am not a good enough wife, mother, sister, brother, friend, hat check girl, computer person, video person. Every time you walk into a room, you measure yourself by all the other people in the room. I have got 200 eyes on me measuring me right now. And inside of me, there's a little girl who says, "You're not enough. Why are you standing in front of these people and speaking your truth? Who are you to say what you're saying to them right now? Why do you matter?" Because I have the disease of depression. Brother got the addiction. I got the depression. I got the pain and the suffering without the substance. One of my dearest friends is sitting here, Michelle, and she'll know. She's walked me through so many dark nights. I have called her so many times and said, "If you 5150 me, I swear to God," y'all, 5150 is when you're going to kill yourself. And you know this, right? No, it's just me, of course. Then they got to call the cops on you to lock you up because you losing it, right? So I would call poor friend, right? I would call her and tell her, "All right, dude, don't call anybody, but I want to jump out a freaking window right now." Anybody ever felt that? How many times in your disease is that where you landed? Where you were in a room, where you were alone, and your head said, "That is my out." How many? Say it again. Countless. Too many to count. Countless. Too many to count. I feel you. Too many to count. You know what this does, this disease? Just like my disease of depression, it robs your soul. It rapes you. I use very intense words because I want you to have a visual and I don't want you to forget. When you want to dance with your addiction, I want you to think of it as a perpetrator who's coming to rape you. It says, "I will give you everything if you come with me." And then you go with that addiction and it takes everything you have. Everything. It takes your soul, it takes your heart, it takes your integrity, it takes your choices. It takes everything you have. And then you say to yourself, "I must deserve it. Something in me deserves this misery." How many of you ever thought that thought? That's way too many of you. And the rest of you are like, "That girl's crazy. I'm not raising my hand." I want her to look over here even. She's getting a little scary now. I thought this outfit through when I came. I did. If you know how you just uncomfortably sweat? And I thought, if one of the arms is out, maybe it'll create some, it's working. It's like circulation. So this arm doesn't have to, I'm sorry. I got through a lot of stuff in my life with humor, because I didn't pick up that drink. I just sat in that depression for years. God, that haunted me. It still haunts me. It's still right there. It talks to me all the time. Depression is the voice in your head of the worst words that you ever heard from anybody. "I don't love you. You're not important. You don't matter. I don't know what you're doing here. Why do you even bother? You're never going to make it." I am walking a lot back. Am I making you dizzy? Just tell me to stop. I got a little seasick there for a minute. "I don't care about you." Have you heard those words in your head? Have you been in a dark place and just heard someone beating you down in your own head? I know you don't want to admit it because you're not crazy. Some of you might be, but multiple personality, that's very possible, highly likely. No, that's all the stuff people told me. People that didn't care about me. People that were afraid to see me for who I was, to accept me because I was something different that they hadn't seen before. And they didn't want to have any of it. Maybe I was different than my brother. Maybe I was different than the kids in my neighborhood. I was the only Latin in my neighborhood when I grew up. But I didn't look Latin. They didn't know what I was. They just knew I was different, and they were going to make me pay for that. When they found out my last name was Hernandez. Hernandez. Now I say it like this before I'd go, yeah, Hernandez, like I'm from Georgia. And it's from that side of the family that's real south. You never heard of them Hernandez? That's me, I'm one of them. Don't you know? Yeah, I was embarrassed. I would look down. When they'd roll call, I'd go like this. And all the kids would be going, who's the spick? That's what we used to be called. That's how old I am. Y'all don't say that no more. Latin Americans. African Americans were very appropriate now. But back then, it was you were a spick. I don't know what that is. I still don't know what that is. I don't even think, it must be on Wikipedia or so. I've never looked it up. It sounds nasty, doesn't it? It made me think of something greasy that was stuck to the pan, or like you spit in something in the pan. That's what made me think about myself. I just knew I didn't like it, so I had shame. About being who I was, coming where I came from, I had shame. You have shame. If you didn't have shame before you had addiction, you have it now. And there are people happy to remind you on a daily of how shameful you are. They're happy to walk over you when they see you down. They're happy to turn their back on you and have no part of you. Shame comes real deep from inside your soul. It's the feeling that no matter what I do, I just feel dirty and wrong, nasty, low, not worth anything. Shame comes from the feeling of constantly being reminded that you're not enough, that you're not measuring up. That's the word I used earlier, not being enough. Addiction brings shame, and it stirs it up, and it puts it on fire, so that you walk around all the time a little less than, a little afraid, not wanting to hold your head up. Shame drives you back to your addiction. When you don't deal with where you came from, Alan, right? Alan shared some really deep stuff and some personal stuff, and it took a lot for him to stay. I do this, all the time, and I'm very comfortable up here because I got to a place in my life where I don't care. I started to not care if you thought I was a spick or whatever you thought I was. I didn't care because I needed to find me, and he needs to find him. What works for him? What makes him happy? What makes you happy? What makes you tick? Don't let other people define you and tell you who you are or you aren't. Don't dare let somebody say, you're not going to make it. You're never going to get this thing. Who are you to say to me, maybe I didn't get it today. I'm going to get up, I'm going to get it tomorrow, or I'm going to get it tonight. Not in the way you're thinking, yeah, no. Because it's always possible for me as long as I'm breathing, as long as there's still life in me. I have the ability to recover and to be healed. I didn't jump out the window. You know how many times I wanted to? Countless. Too many to count. That's how many times I wanted to jump out the window because I thought I ain't got nothing to share. I don't know what I'm doing here on this planet. You don't believe that, me standing here talking all this like I know what I'm doing. Marriage and family therapist, license, all that. titles, whatever. Man, those don't mean anything to me. That was me trying to find myself to get here. I prayed for this. I'm not real good at praying. I'm going to admit that in church. I forget. Do you ever forget? Just forget to pray. It's like, got time for that. I ain't doing it. So I prayed for an opportunity. I prayed for an opportunity to stand in front of people and have them hear my message. Well, half of them are walking out. That's all right. I can still reach the other 3/4. I'm just giving you shade. You hear what you want to hear, what you need to hear. Take what you need and leave the rest. Maybe they already got what they needed. Maybe what I said they couldn't hear, because maybe it's a little too scary. Scary for me. I'm scaring myself while I'm standing up here talking about shame, talking about depression, talking about suicide. I want you to think about it. When you're in those moments, you are divine. You have all the power and the strength to change that dialogue in your head. And you can decide to keep feeding into the voice of your addict, or you can feed into the voice that intuitively was given you. You guys know when you're getting it wrong. The problem is the not listening. You know when you're on the right path. You know it. You feel it. You sense it. You know when you're in the right place for your recovery. And you know when you are so far wrong and so far off. And the minute you take that left turn on that wrong path, it all goes down. You know that. You know when you're headed towards that next drink and you're lying about it. And you're good. You're so good at lying about it. You're real good. Dang. Look me right in the face with all of that sincerity and go, no, I ain't doing nothing. I don't know why you're thinking that. The first person you lie to is yourself. You are greater than this addiction. You are greater than it. People are born with missing limbs, Parkinson's, diabetes, cancer. I'm a cancer survivor of 1 year. That's how fresh it is for me. And I know cancer's right there. It can always come back. And I know addiction's right there, and I know depression's right there. Those monsters can always come back. You got to choose how you live now. You think you don't have a right to get well? You think it's only reserved for those people, the ones who go to the highfalutin, expensive treatment centers with all the bells and whistles? Sister. Brother. No, you have a right sitting here right now to your recovery, to your healing right now. No one takes that from you. Every time that disease calls you, or that friend calls you, that girl calls you, because it's always a girl or a boy, but usually it's a girl. I'm calling my sisters out. Come on, we can just go. It won't be that bad. Come on. Girls, you're lethal weapons. Right? You're a magnet. You can bring a brother to recovery and get him rock right out of that recovery. Man, use your stuff for good. Use your stuff for healing. I just made myself laugh on that one. I'm embarrassed I just said that out loud. I'm like, oh my God, I'm talking about my people. I never did that ever. I was never insincere with a gentleman. Ever. Oh my God, how shameful. Okay, I gotta make some amends later. What's that 10-step thing? If I'm wrong, what is it? I always get it wrong. When you're wrong, promptly admit it, Lord. I promptly admit I was a little bit off in my statements there about the manipulative behavior of women. Take personal inventory. Okay, I got it. There's some gentlemen I might be hitting up on Facebook. I just wanted to get in a nice car. Did you ever just want to get in a nice car? came from the wrong side, you know? I was edging on the, the tracks. I wasn't on the tracks, but I knew where they were. So sometimes I just wanted to go over here and get in that nice car, you know? Oh, Lord, I have to make you laugh because I got too deep and serious. I scared myself. So I remember this one guy. I'll never forget him. University of Miami. So that's where I went to college, one of them. Hey! Yeah! Miami in the house. Oh, pray for them, man. Oh, my God, my relatives up there. I'm all excited. Woo! Yeah, my relatives are about to get hit. They're all down there. Lord, have mercy. I'm not in charge. I'm not in control. Somebody else is, and I'm supposed to be here. They're supposed to be there, and I don't know why. You know, but I know that we all have our days, and they're numbered. They were given to us numbered. So no one tell you that you can't. No one tell you that you can't recover from this disease. No one. I don't care what those numbers say. You can tell those numbers a thing or two that I'm not allowed to say and do in church. But you feel me, right? Number this. You know? No, man. I was talking about the nice car. I went over there. You know, I'm a little ADHD, I think. Undiagnosed and untreated. It's better that way. Right? It's better that way. So what? You're a little weird. You're hyper. You get a lot of stuff done. It's real disorganized, but you get it done. You know? Just like my conversation, I'm getting it done. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm getting there. The cute guy in the car, University of Miami. I was so surprised when he drove me to his condo. You know what I mean? Like, we had a nice dinner, took me to a French restaurant, Troy Levy. What did I know from French food? You know, I grew up with mac and cheese and raviolios and stuff, SpaghettiOs. All that crap, spam. Sorry for that one. My mom was a great cook, too. I'm like, what is all this stuff, right? I think she just gave up. She's just like, I'm done. Here you go. Yeah. Yeah, he didn't get nothing, but he tried. All for a ride in that car, man. All of a sudden, I was like, I'm in some part of some neighborhood in some high-rise penthouse. I don't know how to get out. I can't jump. I'm afraid of heights. I don't got my own ride. I don't got a gun. What am I going to do? Yeah, I had to find some spiritual strength in that one to get out of that situation, and I did. I was blessed. I got out of it. Oops. Sometimes we compromise ourselves too much for something we think we want or need. And every day you're compromising your beautiful soul, your beautiful heart, your precious mind, your creative, amazing self for that drug. It's a little tiny little thing. Useless, worthless, nasty, soul robber. And you compromise yourself for that. You are greater than that substance. It ain't nothing compared to you. It ain't nothing. You gotta believe it, and you gotta earn it every morning. You gotta wake up every morning and tell yourself, you are not greater than me, and you are not greater than this divine design. This mind that's just waiting to explode and become what it wants to become. Don't forget where you came from. I always tell, I got some girls in the house that I work with here. Where are my girls at? I love that. I want to walk around, just have them follow me and go, where are my girls at? Woo! That would be so cool, right? If I did that all day, I'd never be depressed again. I'd be so happy. Suicide what? This is awesome. Woo! Just all day long. You have to do stuff like that to bring joy. When you're depressed, when you're addicted, joy doesn't just come in your space and your head and fill your heart. You got to grab it. It wants to avoid you, that little substance, that little nothing, worth nothing compared to you. I don't care where you came from. Pick yourself up from where you came from. You are not your circumstance. You are not your family. If you came from a family that you feel ashamed of, you didn't come from them. You are not them. Just because they didn't get it right doesn't mean you can't get it right. You think because your daddy was an addict and his grandpa was an addict, an alcoholic, and he abused his wife, that's your story? No. You were born with your own book. Your own book. And they don't get to tell you what's written in it. They don't get to tell you what chapter you're living. And by God, you're only in the middle. You're only in the middle of your life story. You don't stop here. You don't say, oh, this is enough. I'm going to get off the train. I'm going to go home, and I'm going to shoot up. Little heroin, speedball, little backwash, little whatever. Look, see? That's a true Delphine right there. Yeah, she's talking my language. I feel you, brother. That's all a lie. It's a delusion of your brain. Your brain has been hijacked. That substance takes your brain and goes, I got you. You're my little prize possession. It plays with you. It rewires you. That ain't your story. That's where you've been living. But that's not your life. You've got all these other chapters, and nobody can write them. You're the only you on this planet that exists. We can't replace you. Not one of you can we replace. Not one. I don't know what you're meant to do here, but if you die, I don't get to know. And if I die, you don't get to know what my purpose was. Maybe it was just tonight. How do you all know? This might be the last time I ever stand up and speak in front of somebody. I want to give you something. If I was high on the last day of my life, I get to die knowing that. I get to die knowing that. All the hearts I broke, all the people that care about me, that will never see me again. That's not your story. Don't buy it. It's a lie. It is a lie. And all of the support for the lie, especially now, the opiate epidemic lie, where we got sold. This is going to help you. You got a little pain. You poor thing. You got a little heartache. You're a poor thing. Well, we got a pill to fix that. They all lied to you. They all lied to you. That's not the medicine that you needed. You needed love and compassion and kindness and support. You needed an identity. You needed someone to tell you, I don't care what happened to you in your childhood, you are precious, and that shame doesn't belong to you. It belongs to your perpetrators and the people who disappointed you before you got here. That is a lie. We're human. We're supposed to feel everything. We're not supposed to be numb. Numb is for a dead fish. That's all I can think about that's numb. Even the creatures, the animals, they feel. Why do we think we're not supposed to feel? It's a lie. We feel everything. That's what makes us human and miraculous. Don't buy the lie that you are so small that your life can be discarded like a little tab, like a little pill that you take every day. You are precious, you are magnificent, and you deserve recovery. And I love you for being here. I love you for being here. I love you. If nobody told you that today, I love you. Make sure you heard it. Because every day somebody needs to say that to you. Thank you. God bless you.
Woo! Good job. That was awesome. Come on, give it up for Gina.